We get into conversations on devolution this hour. Our guest is already seated, and as we get into this, we're going to be talking about really what's happening in the counties. Never been here before. We've tried to have her here for years, so this is a good day. The governor of Homa Bay County, Honorable Gladys Wanga. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well and happy to be here.
I had to come and touch you to make sure that it's actually you and you're here, because it's...
No, we are now villagers, we are in the village a lot.
I know. Well, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. This is the hot seat of the Situation Room. And
is it?
It is.
I hope it won't burn.
Well, there's water
there
somewhere.
There are no guarantees.
There's water somewhere to kind of cool things off. CT has today's proverb.
Zimbabwe is a very unique country. It is the only country on this continent that can boast that it had a president who was 100% white. Ian Smith in 1965 decided that he was going to declare a unilateral, it's called a UDI, and he did. And as far as he was concerned, Rhodesia, as it was called then, was a country that had then freed itself from the UK. Now, the other thing is, this country is one of the very few countries that has two vice presidents. There is the president, whose first name is easy to pronounce because it's Emerson. The second name, I always struggled with, Nagangwa. Well, you have said it, and thank you so much. I was going to tie myself in knots with that one.
It helps to have lived in South Africa.
See, blood is for tomorrow. God is good, but never dance with a lion.
Okay.
You have a thought about that, Mheshimiwa?
I think don't push it too far. Yeah, God will protect you. He rescued Daniel, from the den of lions, but I think just don't push it. Although, I think it's sort of standing on the Bible and doing all manner of things, saying, God will protect me, including if you're stealing, maybe. So I think that's the...
Wow.
Let's not use that cover. Let's not push it too far. But I'm a believer that God is faithful and he does miracles. Yeah.
But don't push it. Don't push the envelope.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, okay. So, women rep, governor. You make the leap, governor.
Yeah.
And let's just start off with that. Knocking on 2 years as the first female governor of Homa Bay County. Many firsts for you. Let's have a look from your point of view, what it's been like to sit at the top post at the county level so far.
I think I'm really, humbled and thankful to God, and God is good, as Muga has said, and humbled by the people of Homa Bay having made that choice. I worked as woman rep for 10 years, and that really prepared me, but not enough for the responsibility that I carry as governor of Homa Bay. A colleague of mine said, and I agree, that you never quite feel the weight of public service until you sit on that seat as governor. The weight on your shoulders is immense, and the sense of responsibility is huge, because every day you wake up and every single thing that could go wrong, in Homa Bay is really on your shoulders. Whether people are swept away by floods, it's on your shoulder. Whether, your doctors or nurses have a problem and want to, sort of go on strike or whatever, it is on your shoulder. Whether there is no, medicine in your facilities, it is on your shoulder. Whether your roads are been swept by El Nino, which is beyond your control, it is on your shoulder. So the sense of responsibility is huge. And again, the way the 2010 Constitution was crafted is in such a way that most basic services that touch the people right where they are are devolved functions. Whether you think about agriculture, even if today armyworms were to land on farms, and eat all the crops that farmers have planted. It is on your shoulder. All locusts. Think about anything. So a lot of the sensitive functions are devolved. And therefore, the sense of responsibility, Ndu, I can tell you, is huge. And then there is the promise of devolution. What the people of Kenya envisioned devolution to be and to do. And it is then on your shoulder to deliver on that promise of people having money in their pockets, people having food on their tables, people having clean water to drink, so this whole responsibility comes of delivering the promise of devolution comes on your shoulders with very minimal resources. In Homa Bay, we have a joke and we say we are the county of endless potential, but very limited resources. The potential is endless, but the resources are. We must always keep in mind that they are not endless. So this is the picture of devolution: huge responsibility, but very limited.
From a county
resources.
point of view, and the development that you have seen in Homa Bay, I don't think anybody can refuse what devolution then actually has done for the country. But from a Homa Bay perspective, would Homa Bay as a county, looking at all these things that you've mentioned, then be able to survive, reach where it has reached without the elements of devolution?
No. I don't think any county would be where it is if we had passed or if we had shunned devolution. Devolution has brought a huge change. First of all, it has brought money, even if it is little. There is money. There is a class of, people who work for the county, with the county. They contract for the county. They work within the counties. There are services, there are MCAs who ensure that at the very minimum, services go all the way to ward level and that people in the wards make decisions. So to answer your question, there would have been a big difference in the negative if there wasn't devolution. Devolution has made a big difference. I think if you ask Kenyans today whether you should scrap devolution, for example, the answer would be a big no.
I am curious, Mheshimiwa. I keep thinking about devolution and the parts of it that have yet to reach to be fully devolved. Healthcare is an example. You've talked about agriculture. What do you think it takes for national government to finally cede this authority to governors? And also, as you answer me, why has it not been done?
So what does it take, Mark? That's your question. I think it just takes a bold government that knows that the more you devolve, the more your people survive, and it doesn't matter who takes the credit. I think national government must just agree that it doesn't matter where the credit goes. Let's devolve the functions. Because I think the two things that are keeping functions up here. One is people wanting to control resources, and when you control resources, you can say, Muga, do you need a dispensary? I can give you one here today by my whim. Okay, that is one element. That control of resources. And by the way, Kenya has largely been set. By the way, do you know that we started with devolution at Omajimbo at Independence?
Yes.
It was completely scrapped. Then now we have moved, and now we are at we came back to devolution again. From a very, very central, centralist thinking, where people feel, people should come to Nairobi to be able to get the resources. So I think what has been happening now is the discussion around unbundling, and that's, what should be done. There is the IGTRC, which is the Intergovernmental Technical Committee, has been working and meeting because the president had said that he in his promise that all functions should be devolved. So there's been a long meeting in Naivasha, I think 2-3 weeks ago, where they have been discussing how do these functions go down. But it just requires boldness to say, let's give service to the people. It doesn't matter where the credit goes. If that boldness happens, we will devolve all our functions and we will ensure that our people have the services in line with the Constitution.
That's interesting. You're basically saying that it's about taking credit. That's the boldness that's required to cede credit to governors.
Credit and resources.
Wow.
So that's it. Because one of the things is that we can talk about devolution until we go, blue in the face. But that is the question not deeper than that? Or is the issue not deeper than that? When we're saying, yes, fine, seed function, but we're also saying, let the money follow that seeding.
I can tell you at the bottom of it is control of resources. I want to sit in Nairobi and say, Mark, I will give you this, I will give you that. There are people who work in government who I don't think have come to the reality that devolution is a constitutional, it's a constitutional imperative. So at the end of the day, if people say they can seed resources, and I agree with you, Ndu, resources must follow functions. By the way, there are functions that are executed by county governments that have no resources to them. One being ECD. Counties are, building ECD classrooms, and counties are paying ECD teachers, which is the biggest portion, by the way, of county wage bills, together with health. If you combine ECD and health, those are the biggest components. But there are no resources that have left national government to follow. So that's why I'm saying credit and resources, two things.
Must follow.
Yeah.
Okay, so IBEC met the
Yes.
last couple of days. And 450 billion shillings is the
Yes.
money that should go to counties.
Yes.
The Council of Governors, when greeted with this news that money was going to be slashed by about 60 billion because of what is available from National Treasury, so says the chair of IBEC in the name of the Deputy President. The Council of Governors, which we now assume sits and represents everybody, said no.
Exactly.
There's a stalemate. Said we're not going to take this money because this is not what was promised, and many things. Okay, so it's a plethora of questions there, Governor. Why refuse the money if that's what's available? Had you not better take that and then continue? And then what does this stalemate really represent?
Sundu, you're the one who said correctly that resources must follow functions. There's no two ways about it. You can't have a function and have no resources to implement it. So the National Treasury is saying all they have available is 398 billion. Okay? CRA have said 398 plus 10, so 411. Counties are saying if we look at our functions and the changes that have occurred, we need 450 billion to be able to execute our functions. How? First of all, there is a program in health. It's called the Managed Equipment Services, MES, or MES, if you were to call it.
I would be a little gentler with that word mess because it tends to conjure up memories of things that are actually quite messy. So let's go with managed equipment.
Yeah, managed equipment. Let's say managed equipment services. Yeah. So the MES is a function that has been handled by the national government over the last years. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect program. As you say, Senate has looked at it, all these people. But at the end of the day, the people in Homa Bay, for example, saw an MRI through this MES program, okay? People in other counties, in West Pokot, Turkana, people who'd never seen CT scans and so on, dialysis, for example, have seen it through the program. And now the equipment have come to their sell-by date, over on the first program. The government, understandably said, this MES has had so much complication, we cannot continue with it. We said, okay, fine, but let's have a program that brings equipment. Even if counties get the money, it's about 5 billion, counties get the money to then sort their own equipment. So one of the reasons why we are saying the money needs to be added to 4 billion is this MES, which is about 5 billion, which ensures that their equipment in the hospitals. And this is the situation. Without this money, the equipment that we have, even the renal equipment, they only work up to a certain date. After which, they don't even clean the blood, even if you try. So even if you go there, maybe it will just be poisoning instead of cleaning. I mean, it will be moving, but poisoning instead of cleaning. So what's going to happen is, without this service, we are going to start seeing the trooping back to Kenyatta. Because if the CT scan in Homa Bay is not working, and the MRI is not working, people must still get CT scans. They'll go to Kisii, maybe it's not working there. They'll have to troop back. So you're going to have people trooping back up. So that's one of the reasons why we're saying push the money to 450. There are things like the levies that have been introduced, housing levy, other levies. Counties have to pay for their employees, isn't it? There was no budget for that kind of thing. You have to pay yours as the employees deducted. As an employer, you must also pay. So that also must be factored, in. And then there's the road maintenance levy, which the counties, need to have also a part of 15% in line with the constitution. So that is also over 10 billion there. So when we looked and analyzed everything that is required by counties to deliver on the services that we are given, where we are following the principle of resources following functions, we need 450 billion. So the stalemate is national government says 398. And the reason we sometimes, push this is immediately after Treasury saying they have 398 billion, they will immediately come to counties and say, we want to grant you for health this amount. So why are you granting us? Why can't you just put it as part of our equitable share, so that it's in the county? Because after we have taken 398, for example, the national government will come and say, okay, we have some 5 billion, which we want to put, we will be giving these counties, you must give this, and so on and so forth.
So you're saying the money is there, but they just don't want to give it to you. Is that what you're saying?
And this is the analysis that we already did. We said we don't even want additional money. We just want to look through the ministries that are conducting county functions, agriculture, health, all, and then see what do they have that can actually move to counties, which are for devolved functions anyway. That is what we are discussing, and that is what we are saying, and that is what we said even last time. Don't give us new money, because of course money is strained. Everybody knows that money is a problem at the moment. So just give us what is being held by ministries for functions that should be devolved anyway.
Excellency, the question that many people raise at such a point is to say that many county governments are spending more on recurrent expenditure, salaries and things like that, and very little money is being put towards development. So perhaps put it to us, how much of this 450 billion that is being sought after is actually recurrent, and how much of it is expected to actually go towards development of our counties?
There's the rule of the thumb that you need to spend at least 30% of the monies you receive on development. And I think counties do try. If you saw even the last report by the Controller of Budget, not the one for the quarter. The one for the quarter doesn't give a correct picture. Why?
She says you've spent 67 billion shillings on non-priority issues.
Yes.
No. Okay. Well, I read that report about non-priority
spending.
Spending. It depends on now how the priorities are put. But what I wanted to say first is there's a report the Controller of Budget gave and said counties have not spent on so many counties have not spent on development for the first quarter, for example. In that first quarter, it's 3 months, July, August, September. But you see, the report is given when counties have already only received 1 month money. For example, money for July came at the end of August. Money for August came at the end of September to begin spending in October, which means that in the quarter that you're talking about, you only have 1, but you have paid salaries for 3 months, and you cannot wait for people. You cannot wait for salary. People cannot wait for salaries for 3 months.
Can I ask, before we go to a break,
yes,
how do you make that happen? I think it's important for us to understand that if money from the National Treasury for the month of July comes at the end of August, or if money for August comes at the end of September,
or even October, or even like now, counties have not received money for November. For November,
and we are in January,
and this is
still,
end of now you have to pay salaries for January. It's end of January.
Where does that money come from?
You borrow from. You have to talk to banks, institutions. You tell them, can you help me to pay my employees? Because employees will definitely down their tools if they have not been paid.
Does that make it even more expensive then?
It does make it more expensive. It is the situation that we are in, because many of the counties must go to institutions, financial institutions, discuss with them, tell them, please help us so that we clear with these salaries. That is exactly how counties survive. Because if from November, surely there's no county that has not paid November salaries. Counties have paid December salaries. Counties must pay January salaries. That is 3 months later, you know? That is 3 months later before national government has sent money to counties.
So how do you even do development then?
So when you want to start talking about development, so the money towards the end of the financial year, the money will come and counties will pay for development. But you see, the judgment has already been done in the first quarter, in the second quarter, when you didn't, even if now somebody says you haven't spent in the second quarter, for example, you don't have money for November, you only received money for October, you are struggling with your salaries and other things. But let me come to the other question of development funding that, Mark, you asked. So in the last financial year, if you looked, a decent number of counties hit the 30% mark. But there's a bigger debate that we must have. If you hire ECD teachers, is that development or recurring?
Salaries?
Well, the first time it's development, the second time it's recurring.
No, if you hire ECD teachers, you are developing your human capital.
Capacity, yes.
Is that really something you want to say is recurrent? Because the teacher actually is what you need to develop your human capital. Your doctors and nurses who provide health services in your hospitals, you must develop your healthcare and health foundation. So sometimes when this whole money is lumped, it is actually some very, very basic things like human capital development. And this is a debate that we've had with the Commissioner on Revenue Allocation. We've had with SRC to say, tell us about ECD. How do we develop human capital without ECD teachers, for example? So anyway, that's another debate. Yeah. But just to say that the whole amount that is said is for recurrent is not necessarily just wasted money of people moving around. It is actually money that sometimes some of it is going towards real development. And the only way we can develop our human capital, for example, is not just building classrooms. Because if you build a classroom, it is considered development.
Right.
But if you hire a teacher, you're told that is recurrent expenditure. But the classroom children cannot teach themselves in that classroom. In fact, even if they walk into the classroom and walk out, they will have nothing in their heads. But even if they sit under a tree with a teacher, it will be development.
Governor, when we hear, obviously, in the court of public opinion, there's judgment that is passed. When we see these reports, and the first thing that we're told is, well, okay, devolution is working, but then development did not happen, and there's all this money that has been given for development. These three bodies, CRA, SRC, control of budget, is there constant engagement amongst the counties and these three institutions?
Yes, and earlier you mentioned IBEC, and IBEC is the body that brings governors, the executive, and the constitutional commissions together. So this is where consultations are held on the various issues. So yes, there is constant consultations through that IBEC platform. But in the event governors want to, say, meet with the controller or any of the bodies, Council of Governors, does invite them to come and, shed light on various issues. So the issues I was mentioning, like whether education ECD teachers is development or recurrent, is a question that we have been. It's been in debate, in discussion. So it's not for lack of a platform or a forum. The other question of the Control of Budget's report, the other discussion we are having is the Control of Budget has a constitutional mandate to report quarterly. So she reports whether counties received money or didn't receive money. Okay. So she has to give her report at the end of every quarter. So what we've been discussing is, Controller, can you, for example, report after counties have received money for 3 months, then you report on how the expenditure for those 3 months are. So there are issues of principle here, because the controller says, no, the year has 4 quarters, and I have to report at the end of every quarter by my mandate. If I don't report again, I will be found to have failed in my responsibility. But as we say, so surely if we don't receive money the entire first quarter, for example, and you report we have spent nothing, then again that gives a different picture from what the reality is. So these are discussions that are continuous discussions. Maybe that we will place them somewhere, but it's not that we have not had a conversation. We have conversations all the time. It's only that constitutional mandates differ, and everybody wants to be able to conduct their constitutional mandate without appearing to be, muzzled. So sometimes when we get opportunities like this, we can explain to the public that maybe this report, this is the context, or this report, this was the context. So that, but it doesn't stop the public, for example, from just dismissing governors and saying, why are they not spending on development? Why are they just living large? Why are they just, why are they stealing? Why are they doing this? So these are things that are put on governors that sometimes when you're not a governor, you might think, oh yeah, maybe it's true. But when you become a governor, then the responsibility on you to deliver is bigger than anything else you look at.
Question, Ms. Shimiwa. When we talk about delays from national government to county governments, I am wondering to myself why we are talking about it as though we need to adjust to that abnormal instead of adjusting that 3-month delay, because I don't think City here delays paying his taxes for 3 months so that the government can delay to release money for 3 months. The government collects on time. Why is it that this manners that of delayed payments to county governments is now being normalized to the extent that we want the controller of budget to report according to disbursements? How can we correct?
This is the biggest discussion we have every IBEC, every summit, every meeting we have. The first item on the agenda is delayed disbursements. It is a matter that it's like a cancer on our skin. It has gone on and gone on and gone on. Previous regime, this regime, you find every time there is at least a 2-month lag. At the beginning of this financial year, the national government put money on time for counties. So when it was July, the money for July had been put. But IFMIS opened at the end of August for the use of the money to begin. Then after that, there is delay and more delay. So Mark, I agree with you totally that this shouldn't be the normal. It should be the exception if there is a delay, because the Constitution is very clear and the PFM as to when money should go to counties. By 15th of January, I should have received January disbursement.
So the national government is in violation of the Constitution.
Exactly. Total violation of the Constitution.
Are we to assume, therefore, that this is symptomatic of a problem that the government keeps talking of and also not talking of, that they actually don't have enough money? Or is this a deliberate ploy? Because as you say correctly, the previous government had same issues. Yep. And yet, we could argue that some of the financial woes that this government has, at least in the first term of the previous government, were not really there.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I don't. Many times you don't believe it's a money issue. It's a prioritization issue because there are things that are paid right on time, every time, and I think it's a prioritization. It's where the government thinks, it's normal to just delay for 3 months and it's okay. And even when the money is given, it's given a little, and then you're told, no, you still have money in your...
It's like a prescription.
Yes, it's ni kama dawa. Unapewa, 4 counties, 10 counties, 15 counties. On 15th, there should just be a plan for all counties, money pushed.
Yes.
All counties, money pushed. Now, they check, do you have any money left in your account? And maybe you have already obligated all those monies, but surely you can't pay them off because maybe you're still doing your paperwork or making sure everything is done right. But then your money for the next disbursement is delayed on the basis that you still have some money in your CRF account.
Sure.
There's something that we have, and it's just a given. Governments are a continuum, meaning what President Ruto inherited, because he did inherit, was what was left for him. What President Uhuru got was what was left for him. Now, this particular government has regaled us with very many tales of woe regarding, well, just to begin with, empty coffers and all manner of things that they found. I don't hear those tales of woe coming from county governments.
Yeah.
Why is it you people don't complain? Because you do inherit someone else's good governance or someone else's horrible management. You do inherit them. And they very much determine the path that your government is going to take. How is it that we never hear you people talk about it? You people meaning you governors.
Tell me about it, Buka, because you come in, you make a decision. Do you want to whine and about the former regime for good? I mean, people listen to it 1, 2, 3 months, then they get tired. They say, Bana, you just work for us. We have elected you. So sometimes you choose, some of us did not come in a very good place, even in the counties. I mean, we found counties that were not in a good place. But you fold your sleeves. You said, these people have elected me. If you use the Bible for such a time as this, and then you cry a bit, wipe your tears, fold your sleeves, unaanza kazi. And people, by the way, don't want to hear those things of, formally, G what. They can just listen, because now they can't tell you, no, don't stop. No. But they are not listening. If you tell them those things, they are not listening to those things. They just want you to tell them, what is your plan to move forward? And they want to see you implementing that plan. So I think the strategy of, this, that, what, it doesn't work. It works a bit for the first few months, give me time, I'm still sorting out the former things. 6 months, watu watakupea, we know you received this. After that, they just tell you, Wanga, we elected you, my friend.
Not those.
You stood on an agenda. Fanya hiyo kazi.
There's something that Homa Bay County has done.
Yeah.
It's unique, and it's the only county in this country that has. It's a government-to-government understanding with PEPFAR. Tell us about this.
What we have, and we are probably not the only county, because what PEPFAR has done is. Among the first, actually. What PEPFAR has done is they have been working through implementing partners.
Yes, they have.
So if there's a program to be run in Homa Bay, they will pick an implementing partner. Say like in Homa Bay, it's LVCT Health, and they give LVCT Health the money. Then LVCT comes to implement the program. And so, LVCT reports to PEPFAR and reports to us. So we have like a tripartite agreement there. So the G2G is in recognition of the fact that we have had counties for 10 years. Their systems have matured. Their financial systems have matured. Organizational systems have matured. And money can be given directly to the county government.
So no middleman.
No middleman. Can be given directly to the county government to manage. And the county can report back to PEPFAR. So it is that recognition. And it is a recognition that comes after your systems are tested, tried, and seen to be tight enough to be able to handle money of the people of America.
Yes. Run with transparency and integrity.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because the standards are rather high. So it's to tighten. And I think that is the direction generally that we should move. Because devolved units are there for... We have grown. I mean, initially you couldn't say, give counties directly, because systems take time to grow. Even Kenya, we are 60 years, but we are still tightening systems. So counties were 10 years, are now 10 years, going into 11, 12. I think it was important for those systems to tighten. But now, I think we are running.
How is the regional cooperation bodies working? Since there's been a lot of changeover of governors, is the, for example, Lake Basin region team working? How is that going? Because we realized quite early that our counties might be too small to work independently.
Yeah, you mean like the Lake Region Economic Bloc,
Yes.
which is a block of 14 counties, and they sort of just transition in. Once new governors come in, they just induct you, and then they come in. They continue to work. Have the economic blocks worked as was envisaged or anticipated? I think there's a lot of room for synergy still, because I think we have to think about it that way. We have to think about counties being too small and therefore leveraging on the strength of numbers. Have we done it to the best of where we should be? We are struggling, but we haven't gotten there. Because we need to get to a point where we say, Homa Bay, what is your strength? Okay? Bomet, in the same regional economic bloc, what is your strength? Kericho, what is yours? Bungoma, what is yours? Kisumu, what is yours? So instead of all of us doing the same thing, we say, Homa Bay, stick with this. Okay, for example, we want to be leaders in cotton production. That is our objective. We want to be the leaders, the leading cotton producing county in the country. So we can say, okay, in terms of setting up ginning, spinning, or whatever, even if it's just ginning, in terms of big ginning, Homa Bay set it up. Let anybody else who's growing cotton,
come and gin
work together with you in it, so that we know this is our leader in this. Maybe there's fish, maybe if Kisumu, or tea, maybe Bomet. So if we do that, we can leverage on each other's strengths and also leverage on production volumes, because investment and like we are looking at investments and the counties and the country has become now a lower middle income. With lower middle income status, nobody wants to give you aid.
CT may not agree with that, but okay.
Yeah. Well, no, we have been marked as lower middle.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now that we have been marked as lower middle, so that we don't argue about whether we are or we are not, we have been marked that, and therefore we are moving from aid to trade.
Okay.
Nobody wants to give you donate. You can't go with a begging basket anymore. So with a trade and investment mentality, then now we have to look at what are our value propositions as various counties, and then we look at our unique value propositions, and then we look at what can we gain by the volumes of coming together as a block.
Okay, so obviously the development of the county is top of the agenda for you, and many did say that once you got into that position, you put your head down, just like you said, you rolled up your sleeves and said, look, there's a lot of work to be done, let's do it. Prior to that, it was very clear where your position was politically and who your allegiance was sworn to, and I don't think that has changed. However, the voice seems to have gone down in volume. Dipped in volume. The sound has dipped in volume. And so the questions are arising and budding and saying, okay, did the opposition lose the voice of Gladys Wanga when we would have previously heard the things that we hear like happening with the judiciary and the position that the person of Raila Odinga and the opposition have taken? We would have heard Gladys Wanga somewhere in there. When we see things like them wanting to send police officers to Haiti, we would have heard the voice of Gladys Wanga in there. Is there a balance that can be created between the work that the county needs you to do and the position that you had clearly taken politically before that?
Politically and ethically.
So my position has not changed. This is Gladys Wanga. I'm an ODM governor, and I am, my party leader is Raila Amolo Odinga, and I follow him, and I do mobilization for ODM in terms of every work that is needed to be done. The only difference is I'm not in Nairobi much. I am in the village 80% of the time. So when I was in Nairobi as MP, I was here all week. So if Spice called me, I'd be here and make my position known. I would be in KTN, I would be in Citizen, I would be everywhere. But that does not change my position. The only thing is sometimes when you're in the village, a lot, you don't get the prominence. Even you can talk about some of these things, but they don't get the prominence on national media that they should. Just because the local media there are prioritizing more, is there water for drinking, is there medicine in the hospital. You are taken on very, very, very basic. And these are the most important things, to the people. They want you to talk about medicine and all these things. Sometimes even when you talk about judges, it doesn't make its way up because the local media, they will only take the part of the. But now that I'm here, I think it's important to say that the judiciary is independent, must be left with its independence. Otherwise, there would be anarchy, that follows. So when I get these opportunities, my voice is loud, my voice is strong. I remain a firm believer in the ODM party. The counties, the way they are fashioned by the Constitution, counties and national government are they are distinct but interdependent. So the work I do in Homa Bay must be done in partnership with the national government, and that is an agreed position even within our parties, ranks. So that is an agreed position that we must work for the people of Homa Bay. Sometimes it requires you to liaise with the national government, but that doesn't change your political position. The politics is there, it is strong. I might not be in the studio as much as I used to be. Sometimes, in Parliament, every week you have to hold a presser on one matter or the other.
Yeah.
In the village, you might not, do that as often. But that is the transitioning from the national government. And these are things I had to think through, before, because some people told me, Wanga, you're going to disappear in the village.
Yeah.
Who's going to hear you there? And it is true that sometimes your voice is drowned.
Yeah.
But it is a choice you make sometimes, because when you move to the village, it is a choice you have made for that time.
Yes.
And maybe the time comes when the voice you come back to the national and you are available again. But the position, the stand on these issues has not changed.
You're still heavy on development for Homa Bay.
Yes.
There's an investment summit.
Yes.
Coming up. What is this about, and how will it actually affect development in the county?
Yeah. So as I said, we have been for a long time saying, aid us this and aid us that. Nobody is looking at that anymore. People are saying we have to trade. You have to tell us what opportunities are for investment, so that even as I make my investment, your people get employment, but I also have a return on my investment. And that's the discussion that we're having. And that is why we are setting up the second Homa Bay International Investment Conference, which is coming up from 27th to 29th of February. So from 27th to 29th, we'll be in Homa Bay discussing what are the opportunities available for investment in Homa Bay. And I've mentioned we are an agricultural county, largely, 80% agricultural. We also are a fishing county. Many people don't know that 80% of Kenya's Lake Victoria is actually in Homa Bay.
No.
The shores of Lake Victoria, 80% of it is in Homa Bay. Many people, they say the lake, they don't think about Homa Bay. But really, the most of the lake, the 6% of the lake that is in Kenya, 80% of it, the shoreline is in Homa Bay. So we are a big aquaculture fishing county. So that's another. So we are prioritizing the cotton value chain, and we want to be leaders in cotton. We want to be leaders in fish and aquaculture, processing, fish farming and processing, and edible oils, oil palm. Oil palm, right now we are expending $1 billion a year of forex to import crude palm oil. Yet, I went to Uganda in Kalangala Island. The climatic conditions are the same as Homa Bay. So this can grow on the lake belt very, very well. And so we want to focus on that. We want to focus on groundnuts. Homa Bay is a nut belt. Anywhere you step, groundnuts can grow there, actually, yes. And if I come to visit you, like even if I knew I was coming today when I left Homa Bay, I would have brought you nuts. Yeah. I would have brought you fish. I would have brought you sweet potatoes, the sweetest. That's another value chain. The sweetest in the country, actually. The Queen of England used to eat, the late Queen used to eat the sweet potatoes. And then we are looking at pineapples also. So we have 3 priority. And 2 that we are also bringing along, pineapple and sweet potatoes. 3 which we want to be leaders in is cotton, fish, and edible oils, soya. When you talk about edible oils, it's oil palm, soya, groundnuts, sunflower. So those are our priorities there. And tourism, Ndu. Yeah. With this amount of lake and over 16 islands and a national park, the Ruma National Park, I'm telling you, you can spend your entire holiday in Homa Bay. And from Kabunde Airport, where we now land, by the way, we don't arrive in Homa Bay, we land, we have a commercial airline. So from Kabunde to the gate of Mara Serena is 2 hours. Exactly. So people can come from Mara, they drive, they jump into a cruise ship, they cruise in the Victoria, they go all the way, they can go to Mwanza, then go into the Serengeti. I'm telling you.
And we will land
out of this world.
Honorable Gladys Wanga, it's been a pleasure having you in the studio this morning. Thank you very much. Until the next time, Asante Sana.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.